In every action you take, in every decision you make, there is one force that outweighs all others: belief. Not fleeting hope, not idle wishing, but deep, unwavering definiteness of belief. It is the steel spine of all achievement, the invisible current that drives men to build empires, to scale mountains, to persist where others perish. The man who believes with certainty walks with an inner light. He does not question whether the sun will rise. He knows it will, and just as surely, he holds fast to the vision of his success with the same faith. Definiteness of belief is not born from conditions, it precedes them. It does not ask the world for proof, it demands that you become the proof. The moment you anchor your mind in certainty, everything around you begins to shift. Opportunities arise not because they suddenly exist, but because your belief allows you to see them. Doubts, fears, excuses, they retreat before a mind that has made up its course. The individual who operates with a definite belief that everything always works out is not a fool. He is not blind to hardship or unaware of failure. He simply refuses to make fear the architect of his future. While others are paralyzed by the question, what if it goes wrong? He is energized by the question, what if it works out? And then he acts from that place, because he knows this: the only thing more powerful than a favorable circumstance is the mind that creates it. What separates the successful from the stalled is not talent alone, nor resources, nor even luck. It is the definiteness with which they believe. A wavering mind will waver in results. A scattered belief yields scattered outcomes. But a definite belief, firm, focused, persistent, magnetizes reality to it. When you act as though success is not just possible, but inevitable, you begin to behave in ways that create it. The world will always test your belief. Setbacks will whisper lies. Delays will provoke impatience. Critics will offer their opinions, and fear will come dressed in logic. But belief that is definite does not bargain. It does not shrink in the face of resistance. It is not something you try on, it is something you decide. And once you decide, the tide begins to turn. Think of every invention, every movement, every breakthrough in history. Behind it stood someone who believed long before anyone else could see it. They believed through mockery. They believed through failure. They believed until what was invisible became undeniable. That is the power of definiteness. It sustains the spirit through storms and sharpens the vision through fog. It anchors the mind in a future reality and demands that present action align with it. Belief is the engine, but definiteness is the key that turns it on. A vague belief creates a vague life. I hope things work out is the language of passivity. But I know things work out for me. That is the voice of a builder, a visionary, a person who shapes life rather than reacts to it. When you carry that belief in your posture, your tone, your decisions, people feel it. Circumstances bend to it. Life begins to respond to your internal declaration. Definiteness of belief also simplifies life. When you know, truly know, that things work out for your good, you no longer waste energy on worry. You do not indulge in mental rehearsals of disaster. You conserve your energy for creation, for building, for forward motion. You trade anxiety for clarity, hesitation for momentum. And here lies the hidden truth. Belief that is definite creates identity. You no longer try to succeed, you expect it. You no longer wait for validation, you become your own proof. You no longer look outward for signs, because your conviction becomes the sign. Belief is not passive, it's not just a quiet feeling. It's a mental order given to the subconscious, a command to reality. And definiteness of belief is what transforms that order from a whisper into a thunderous roar. It is the mental stance that says, I will not be moved. It is the internal contract that says, this will happen, and I will behave as if it already has. This mental attitude is not about pretending. It is about aligning with your highest truth. When your belief becomes definite, your self-peak changes. Your habits change. Your language changes. You begin to walk like someone who already knows the outcome. You no longer ask for permission. You move as if permission is unnecessary. Because, in truth, it is. The world follows the one who leads himself. It follows clarity. It follows certainty. And that certainty, that direction, that internal compass, it begins with your belief. Not borrowed belief, not conditional belief, but definiteness of belief. You must stand guard at the gate of your mind, allowing only those thoughts that build your belief, not those that chip away at it. You must make belief your baseline, your default setting, your inner home, and then move through life as one who already knows. The creative faculty of the mind responds not to your doubts, but to your assumptions. The world, in its infinite intelligence, does not wait for you to prove yourself worthy. It responds the moment you decide you already are. The greatest secret of high achievement is not in effort alone, but in the mental position from which effort begins. That position is assumption. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is the inner acceptance of something as already real. When a man assumes that success is his, that his desires are unfolding in his favor, he begins to act, speak, and think in harmony with that unseen truth. Your present reality is nothing more than the sum of your past assumptions. Whether those assumptions were conscious or unconscious, whether they served you or enslaved you, they have brought you exactly to where you now stand. But the beauty of this law is that it does not chain you to your history. It frees you through your decision. Assume something new, something greater, something worthy of who you are becoming, and reality begins its silent rearrangement. The mind has a blueprinting function. It maps the world not based on what is, but on what it has accepted as truth. When you assume something to be true, even in the absence of external proof, your subconscious mind begins the construction. It gathers evidence, filters experience, shifts perception, and magnetizes opportunities that match your inner certainty. The world outside bends to the image held within. The more vividly you assume that image, the more stubbornly the world conforms. Most men fail not because they lack skill, but because they never dared to assume victory. They wait. They wait for permission, for proof, for guarantees. They wait for the world to move before they do. But power belongs to the man who moves first, who claims what he cannot yet see. Assumption is the bold act of ownership. It says, "This is mine, not because I have earned it yet in the eyes of men, but because I have claimed it in the authority of mind." Assumption shapes action. When you assume success, you carry yourself differently. You do not negotiate with fear. You do not consult doubt for direction. Your choices reflect belief, not confusion. You walk into the room with presence. You speak with conviction. You plan with purpose. And others, seeing your clarity, begin to believe it too. The world cannot help but respond to one who has already decided. That is the power of assumption. It produces movement before results, and the movement produces the result. Assumption is not arrogance. It is not delusion. It is alignment. The mind must be made to line up with the end you desire, not the circumstances you fear. Circumstances are temporary. The assumption you hold is eternal until you change it. Most people live their lives reinforcing assumptions they no longer want. They assume that life is hard, that success is for others, that their best days are behind them, and then they wonder why nothing changes. But the courageous soul makes a new assumption and refuses to back down from it no matter what. To assume a thing is to begin with the end in mind. It is to accept your dream as fact before it has materialized. It is to see yourself in possession of the goal before the goal has appeared. The moment you make that inner shift, life responds. It cannot do otherwise. Every outcome begins as an internal state. Every destination starts with an inner orientation. The man who assumes greatness becomes great not by chance, but by law. Your assumption is a command to the universe. It is a mental decree. And just as a seed contains the code for the entire tree, your assumption contains the code for your entire future. But like any seed, it must be protected, watered, and held in faith. You do not dig up the seed to check on it. You trust the process. You behave as if the harvest is already yours. That is what makes it grow. This principle is as simple as it is profound. You become what you assume, not merely what you want, not what you study, not what you admire in others, but what you assume. Continuously, emotionally, without contradiction. That assumption becomes your emotional home. It is the thermostat of your destiny. It sets the tone of your thoughts, the pace of your habits, and the ceiling of your achievements. You must learn to live from the outcome, not just toward it. To live from the outcome is to imagine it vividly, to feel it deeply, to walk through your day as if the result were already behind you. You do not wonder if, you know when. You do not say maybe, you say I am. The outer world may still look the same, but your inner world has already moved, and soon the outer world follows suit. The individual who masters the power of assumption becomes a creative force. He no longer reacts, he generates. He no longer chases outcomes, he aligns with them. He no longer tries to become, he assumes he already is. And in that assumption, he collapses time, bypasses hesitation, and rises beyond circumstance. Others will call it luck, they will call it coincidence, but it will be none of those things. It will be assumption, made definite and lived with intensity, and in time it will be reality. There exists a power which cannot be measured by the senses, weighed on scales, or seen by the naked eye, yet it shapes the course of destinies. It is the unseen engine behind every miracle of progress, the silent partner of every triumph, and the secret held by every man who refuses to yield to the tyranny of appearances. This power is faith in the invisible, the ability to trust in what is not yet visible, to believe in what the eye cannot see, and to move forward guided not by evidence, but by conviction. Faith in the invisible is not fantasy, it is not escape from reality. It is the boldest form of engagement with life. It is the declaration that while others are governed by what is, you are governed by what can be. It is the realization that every visible result began as an invisible cause. The skyscraper was once a sketch. The revolution was once an idea. The fortune was once a faint vision in the mind of its maker. And in all these, faith was the bridge from conception to reality. The visible world is slow to respond. It moves according to the rhythm of belief and perseverance. The man who insists on seeing results before he commits will never build anything of worth. He will forever be a servant to circumstances. But the man who walks forward, though the path is not yet lit, commands the very forces of life to make way. He is not foolish, he is faithful, and his faith makes him powerful. There will be times when nothing around you confirms your dream. The bank account will contradict it. The opinions of others will mock it. The failures, the delays, the moments of silence, they will all rise up to challenge you. And it is precisely in those moments that faith in the invisible becomes your greatest asset. You must learn to believe not because of what you see, but in spite of what you see. You must hold to your inner vision like a lifeline, knowing that what is invisible today is only waiting for the right time to emerge. Faith in the invisible makes you resilient. It gives you the ability to rise from failure with your spirit intact. It empowers you to see through the eyes of imagination, to project yourself into a future of your choosing, and to return to the present moment armed with purpose. It frees you from the prison of doubt. It liberates you from the need for constant validation. It allows you to build momentum while others are still asking for permission to begin. The man who possesses faith in the invisible walks differently. He speaks with an authority that does not come from his current position, but from the certainty of his direction. He does not flinch in the face of rejection, because he knows that the world often says no to those who are closest to their breakthrough. He does not shrink when faced with delay, because he understands that delay is not denial, it is refinement. He does not scatter his energy in fear, because his belief in the unseen gives him a calm and steady aim. You must learn to believe in the process, even when the results have not yet appeared. The soil does not show you the roots as they grow. The caterpillar gives no warning before it transforms. The dream does not shout its arrival. It grows silently in the shadows of your effort. Faith in the invisible is the only way to persist long enough to witness the harvest. If you are waiting to feel certain before you act, you will never act. Certainty does not come first, decision does. Great men are not remembered for what they saw, they are remembered for what they saw through. They saw through rejection. They saw through hardship. They saw through what was lacking and instead held on to what was possible. The eyes of their mind were stronger than the eyes of their body. That is the difference between those who build and those who watch from the sidelines. One group waits for the world to change. The other believes it into being. Faith in the invisible also sharpens the will. It becomes a discipline, a training ground for mental toughness. Every time you choose to trust your vision over your fears, your faith grows stronger. Every time you move forward without proof, your belief deepens. Every time you act on what cannot yet be seen, you strengthen the part of yourself that creates reality from thought. Eventually, faith becomes not just a choice, but a reflex, the foundation from which you live and operate. When you walk by faith, your energy changes. Your mind is no longer limited by current circumstances because you have removed the need for physical evidence. Your thoughts become expansive, your decisions become bold, you take risks others avoid, because you are no longer driven by sight, you are led by vision. And vision, when backed by unshakable faith, becomes prophecy. There is nothing the world can do to stop a man who believes in what cannot yet be seen. You cannot outwork him because he is moved by something greater than motivation. You cannot discourage him because his encouragement comes from a source the world does not control. You cannot predict him because his actions are based on an internal knowing, not external signals. And you cannot defeat him because he has already won in his mind. And the rest is simply catching up. There is a silent language by which the universe communicates, a frequency upon which all things respond, a vibration that goes beyond words, beyond actions, beyond even intention. It is the vibration of who you are being in each moment. This is not mere philosophy, it is law, precise, unfailing, universal. Every thought, every belief, every feeling you cultivate emits a signal. That signal draws to you circumstances, people, and events that are in perfect alignment with it. This is vibrational magnetism, the principle that you attract not what you want, but what you are. You cannot hide from the signal you emit. It is not what you speak with your mouth, but what you declare with your frequency. If you say, "I believe but feel fear," the vibration that is broadcast is not belief, but doubt. If you say, "I will succeed but carry anxiety," your field is not calling success but struggle. The world is not listening to your words, it is responding to your tone of being. That tone is determined not by what happens to you, but by how you think, how you feel, and how you carry yourself in the midst of it all. When you walk in certainty, the world responds with clarity. When you operate in peace, chaos finds no place in your life. When you rise each day with gratitude, confidence, and purpose, your vibration becomes a magnetic force. That force does not plead or chase. It does not force or beg. It attracts. It draws unto itself its equivalent. High energy draws high energy. Power recognizes power. And life begins to organize itself according to your internal state. The man who lives with confidence, joy, and focus does not wait for life to improve before changing his vibration. He changes his vibration to improve his life. He does not ask the world for a reason to believe. He becomes the reason. He understands that the state he maintains internally will determine what unfolds externally. His mood becomes strategy, his energy becomes action, his frequency becomes foresight, and others, sensing that he is aligned with something stronger than circumstance, are drawn to him, even if they do not know why. There is no deception in energy. You can speak of ambition and confidence, but your vibration will always tell the truth. You may say you are certain, but if you live in hesitation, your magnetism will be weak. You may write your goals and chant your affirmations, but if you do not feel the energy of already having them, you remain in the posture of wanting, not receiving. You do not get what you want because you want it. You get what you are in harmony with. The frequency you live in is your request to life. Vibrational magnetism means that your state is the seed and your reality is the harvest. The soil of life does not respond to hope, it responds to alignment. You must become the kind of person who would naturally receive the result you seek. If you desire abundance, carry the energy of sufficiency, not scarcity. If you desire love, radiate the frequency of wholeness, not need. If you desire opportunity, walk as though you are ready for it, not desperate for it. Life will match the signal, not the surface. Your thoughts shape your frequency, but it is your emotions that amplify it. You must learn to feel in advance what you wish to experience. Not just think it, not just speak it, but feel it as real, as present as yours. That feeling becomes the magnet. It sends a message to life. I am already living in the truth of what I desire. And life responds not by questioning your claim, but by arranging the path to validate it. Everything begins to echo your internal state. The opportunities show up, the doors open, the coincidences align, and what once seemed distant now feels inevitable. To master vibrational magnetism is to take responsibility for your state moment by moment. Not to be perfect, but to be aware, to rise above reaction and choose intention, to interrupt worry and return to power, to silence complaint and return to vision. You are the transmitter. You are the receiver. You are the architect of the frequency by which your life unfolds. This is why action without alignment is often fruitless. You can work harder than everyone else and still struggle if your vibration is rooted in fear. But the man who moves from a place of inner certainty multiplies the power of every step. His words carry weight. His presence calms storms. His plans prosper because they are born of aligned energy, not frantic doubt. He does not need to force, because his vibration has already opened the way. Nothing in life is neutral. Every moment you are either magnetizing what you want or repelling it. You are either raising your frequency or lowering it. You are either stepping into alignment or drifting from it. And the most powerful part of it all is that it is always within your control. You may not control events, but you always control your state. You always have the ability to shift, to center, to elevate. The man who understands vibrational magnetism knows that success is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of resonance. He does not waste time chasing what does not belong to his current state. He refines his state until it becomes worthy of what he desires. He knows that the battle is not outside but within, and that once the inner alignment is complete, the outer world cannot help but obey. The greatest bridge between desire and manifestation is action. Not blind action, not reaction to fear, but intelligent, intentional, and aligned action. The kind of action that proceeds not from current conditions, but from the conviction of what must be. This is the discipline of acting as if. the decision to embody your vision before the world affirms it, to live from the end, not toward it, to step forward as though what you seek is already yours, and to do so with unwavering consistency until reality yields. Most people act based on appearances. They adjust their energy to their environment. They mirror what they see rather than shape what they believe. But the man of vision reverses the order. He does not act as he feels as he chooses, and then acts in accordance with that inner state. He does not wait for permission to be who he imagines himself to be. He assumes the role immediately, lives the part fully, and lets the world catch up. To act as if is not pretense. It is creative authority. It is the mind taking command of matter through movement. When you act as if you are already the person who has achieved the goal, you begin to bypass the very limitations that held you in waiting. You raise your standard, your behavior, and your vibration. You speak with more clarity. You make decisions from a higher level of trust. You carry yourself with the posture of a man who has seen the end from the beginning. You are no longer dabbling, you are declaring. Your actions become prophecy in motion. Acting as if creates momentum where none previously existed. It gives your subconscious a new script to follow. The mind cannot distinguish between an imagined experience and a physical one if both are charged with emotion and consistency. When you repeatedly act in alignment with a chosen future, you train your subconscious to normalize it. And the moment your subconscious accepts a new identity, your environment begins to mirror it. Life begins to reflect the pattern of who you have become, not merely what you have hoped for. This principle is not about faking success. It is about embodying the frequency of success before it is visible. The man who acts as if he is powerful begins to command respect. The man who acts as if he is valuable begins to attract opportunities. The man who acts as if he is disciplined begins to build habits that support greatness. Every decision, every step, every conversation begins to support the future he is already walking in. This is not arrogance. It is intention. It is the courage to behave according to vision instead of circumstance. When you act as if you are already living your dream, something extraordinary happens. The world adjusts. People begin to respond to you differently. Circumstances begin to unfold more rapidly. The opportunities you once chased begin to chase you. Why? Because your new behavior is signaling a different frequency. You are no longer broadcasting need or uncertainty. You are radiating completion. That signal is powerful. It cuts through noise. It draws to itself everything required for the dream to be fulfilled. The man who lives by this principle understands that action is the proving ground of belief. He does not merely affirm or visualize. He moves. He makes calls. He writes pages. He builds the vision even when no one is watching. He invests as though the return is certain. He trains as though the arena is already his. He shows up before the crowd gathers. He speaks with the tone of inevitability. And life, seeing that he has committed, begins to conspire in his favor. To act as if is to refuse the illusion of lack. It is to say, I already am, even when the world says, you are not yet. It is to demonstrate faith not just in word, but in deed. It is to rise each day and behave in a way that honors the version of yourself you are becoming. And with every act of alignment, you solidify that version. It becomes easier to maintain. You no longer have to force confidence. It becomes natural. You no longer pretend to be consistent. You are consistent. You no longer try to impress. You impress through presence alone. Your environment may not validate your new identity right away. That is the test. That is where most fall back into old patterns. But if you persist, if you remain steadfast in your new posture, your environment will eventually submit. Life cannot resist a man who refuses to abandon his standard. The forces of reality will bend, twist, reconfigure until they reflect the vibration of your dominant state. Acting as if requires discipline. It requires emotional stamina. You must learn to show up before the applause, to dress for the opportunity before the door opens, to carry yourself as a leader before anyone follows. You must stop negotiating with the old version of you, the one who hesitated, doubted, and waited. That man is no longer in charge. You have appointed a new director. One who operates not from fear, but from vision. One who does not ask, "Can I?" but declares, "I already have." And so he moves, not tentatively, but with precision, with certainty, with calm fire. Each moment you act as if, you compress time. You draw the future toward you. You reduce resistance. You clarify your signal. You tell life, "This is who I am now." And life, ever obedient, begins to reflect back your decision in form, in timing, and in substance. There is a higher order to this life, one that responds not to hesitation but to bold belief. The man who decides that everything always works out is not a dreamer detached from reality. He is the one who understands the hidden structure beneath it. He knows that reality is molded by thought, charged by emotion, guided by vision, and solidified through action. He chooses to live from the truth that his thoughts carry weight, that his vibration holds power, and that his state determines his fate. He builds a mind immune to defeat by anchoring his thoughts in purpose. He sees failure not as a wall, but as a gate, not to stop him, but to shape him. He does not need external validation because he walks by the light of internal certainty. While others beg for proof, he lives as proof. He aligns himself with faith in the invisible, moving forward long before the world gives him permission. His life becomes a magnet, drawing in results not by force, but by frequency. And with each step, he acts as though he has already arrived. He does not hope, he expects. He does not wait, he creates. He does not react, he commands. His faith is not theory, it is motion. His belief is not mere thought, it is identity. And from that identity, he shapes a life of abundance, clarity, and greatness. For he understands one final truth, one eternal law, that when a man acts as if everything always works out, the universe has no choice but to rise and make it so.